story of Barry Seal, who was a man who had his fingers in many pies. He was taking pictures for the CIA, I believe, and realized that he had permission to cross borders without being checked, and turned that into a very profitable drug running operation that turned into a covert arms smuggling operation, and several government agencies used him and he used them, and it became one of the biggest scandals in a president's history. And it got found out, and I'm referring to the Oliver North trial and the Iran-Contra affair. I think what's consistent in all the research that I did is not only Barry, but the rest of the drug smugglers had this quality of, really? We're doing this at this level and nobody's touching us? It was incredible, the operation that was being run. And it was extensive. I think they all had this, we're never going to get caught, and let's see how big we can make it attitude. And they kept going and kept going and kept going. And they had bags and bags and bags of cash buried in yards around their houses, of their many houses. Fake walls put up to secure money. Barry was making fake banks. The sky was the limit, and they were just going to keep testing the waters and see how far I can go. I think when my character finds out how deep Barry's character is, or how deep Barry is into that world, he realizes it's an opportunity to maybe capitalize on that and capture some of the biggest drug lords on the planet in Colombia. But I can't do it alone, so I have to make sure that I have the protection of the other agencies, in this case Oliver North, and that branch of the military, and what he represents with Bush and Reagan. But definitely it's to seize the opportunity and use Barry and his free pass of traveling across these borders with this huge plane to bring down some of the most ruthless drug dealers ever were.
It's a star that I had an amazing experience with. Tom Cruise he's the best. Doug Liman I've never worked with, but I've admired every one of his films. And it's a true story, and it's an era, the 70s and 80s, that I love the music. I love the oeuvre of the whole period and place. And and I think the movie came across as it's a really effective film, and it's honest. And in the end, it's kind of trippy. There's music and a moment that become kind of transcendent, kind of surreal, like, what is life actually about? And so I like movies that are self-actualizing that way. He's unbelievably loyal, the hardest worker you'll ever encounter in your lifetime, and likes the responsibility of team leadership. The chemistry between Doug, the director, and the star Tom Cruise was unbelievable. It's like they finish each other's sentences. Oddly enough, in Atlanta, they lived together in the same house. Literally in the same house, so they could work their 18 to 20-hour days. So they'd finish shooting, take a shower, a break, eat, and then they'd come back and do story meetings. And they liked it. It would have been grueling for anybody, but not for them, because they had such a great creative chemistry with one another. And I was in Atlanta at the time, and it's very easy. It was a very easy, comfortable set to be on. I think audiences will love this movie because it has excitement, it has fun. Tom Cruise is awesome in it. He's a blast to watch. It kind of has every kind of audience emotion and experience that will turn you on.
I think when Schaefer meets Barry, everything changes for Barry. That's kind of what's cool about the relationship. Is previous to that, Barry's life was not exciting enough for a man with his makeup. And then when Schaefer meets him, he offers him a life which is full of excitement and which makes the most of him as an individual, which was that he was an absolutely amazing pilot, and he also ran on adrenaline. He loved adrenaline, like he loved those situations which were, you know, escape by the skin of your teeth situations. And what Schaefer does is offer him that. And so I think it was always going to work. But it also means there's a really, really delicate but very important power relationship between the two, where Barry works for Schaefer, really, but if Barry doesn't work for Schaefer, then Schaefer's in a lot of trouble. So they're both, it's like mutually beneficial, but delicate relationship, which could really mean trouble for both of them, or they could both make out like bandits from it. And that's what makes the relationship interesting, I think. Is that it can just be a kind of a balls out, really fun kind of theme ride of a man barreling towards the top at a kind of unstoppable rate. And that's really fun to watch. Everybody likes seeing that. There's wish fulfillment in terms of where he gets to so quickly. He's a force of nature, Tom, you know, like that's, I think that's self-evident. And so there is that drive behind everything. And it's just about getting the shot and getting the right thing for the movie. And I mean, I very much enjoy working that way. But then that does get left aside. You know, during the scene, he's Barry and I'm Schaefer, and then once they call cut, then it's into the madness that I haven't really experienced before. But when you're in the scene, it's just a very good actor in this scene with you. I read one autobiography in particular that was very close to the position that Schaefer occupies in the film, and that really helped just for the mindset. The guy had one quote, which was, "We will go wherever we want." You know, he was asked about going into countries which had nothing to do with America, you know. And he said, "We'll go wherever we want and we'll do whatever we want because those people will end up asking us for help anyway." Which is would not be the way I would view world politics, but it's certainly a mindset that I think exists.
So the part that appealed to me most about his story was again, not that he was just a drug smuggler. You know, it's a much more complex story than that, you know, about a guy who worked for the government and helping to fund the Contra war effort. And, you know, for someone, I'm from Washington, D.C., and I grew up during that time period. So, you know, it was really just a fascinating time period and a fascinating event, you know, in our nation's history. And I just always loved that. So it was a way into those events through the eyes of a character that no one is really that familiar with. What's great about doing something in the 70s and 80s is you get that sort of transportive effect of going to a different time and place, but it's still close enough to our time that it's still familiar too, which, you know, I think that combination is really exciting. Like, I love movies like that take you to another time and place, but you don't feel totally disconnected from our reality today. He's obviously an amazing actor, and he really, you don't have to say, I mean, he's just so passionate about playing this role and is just putting everything into this part. So, you know, working harder than any actor I've ever worked with, you know, I mean, rehearsing every night after rap, weekends, it's fantastic. So just to have the opportunity to work with someone like Tom, I mean, it's amazing.
American Made's set in a time when you could get away with things like this. I mean, the kind of flying that Barry did and the things he got away with, you know, that'll never happen again, right? That's, you know, with the technology and GPS and things that exist today, you couldn't get away with what Barry got away with in the 80s. Barry was, you know, recruited by the CIA to to do surveillance on communist activities in Central America and ultimately to start delivering guns to rebels in Central America who were fighting communists. And there was a real agenda. It was the height of the Cold War. It was a real agenda of President Reagan to fight communism in our backyard. And they recruited Barry Seal to fly out of a little airport in Arkansas and start delivering weapons to the rebels in Central America. And Barry, was a real opportunist, and he had an empty airplane on the way back, and he was, had been, because he was working with the CIA and he was conducting these illegal operations with the CIA's help, he could get in and out of the country undetected. And there's no point flying back with an empty airplane. Might as well bring drugs back with it. And so Barry ended up, working for both the U.S. government and for the Colombian drug cartel at the same time, and unbeknownst to the other. And he played both sides and became fabulously wealthy while he was doing it. But it was never about the money for Barry. It was about the excitement and the challenge, and really about the flying. American Made was my chance to tell a story about somebody who screwed over the White House, who took advantage of everybody, and for a long time, and really got the most you could possibly get out of a life. It was an amazing story, and I do love flying. I'm a pilot, and he was using airplanes to do some of the most outrageous missions. And the thing about the kind of flying that Barry Seal was doing in the early 80s, where and he really is kind of like the UPS for illegal cargo, right? I mean, he didn't really care what was in the back of his plane. He just cared how heavy it was, and if it absolutely had to be there overnight and it was illegal, Barry Seal was your guy. He didn't care if it was guns the CIA wanted him to fly to rebels in Central America, whether it was cocaine that the Colombian drug cartel wanted him to fly to Florida. And he could just get it done. The other sort of key relationship in the movie is with the CIA and Domhnall Gleeson, who plays Tom Cruise's handler at the CIA. And, I'm no stranger to the CIA and CIA handlers, and obviously the Bourne franchise. There's new handlers almost every movie, and it's. I was interested in coming up with trying to do something that's really original, and Domhnall was an amazing partner for that, because he plays Tom's handler, and therefore a real adversary and somebody who could be very dangerous to Tom. But he's in a cubicle, and he, and I sort of posit this idea that maybe the most dangerous thing out there is someone working for the CIA who's in a cubicle who wants to move into an office, and like Tom, is going to seize whatever opportunity and not let anything stand in his way. And if Barry Seal can help him get out of the cubicle and into the office, that's fine. And if Barry Seal's going to stand in the way, then Barry Seal's going to get chucked out.
I play Dana Sabota in this film. She's the State Attorney General of Arkansas. She's foul-mouthed. She's no nonsense. And she really wants to get Barry Seal by the balls. She either wants to put him in jail, she wants him to get out of her state. She wants him gone, and she doesn't really care how that happens, but she doesn't want him in Arkansas anymore. I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't scared, at first. Yeah, you have to go in and yell at Tom Cruise. I think the note I was given before I even met him was, we want you to go in there and, take him by the balls. And I was like, okay. I had to walk outside and, calm myself down. I was like, I can't do this. I literally almost left the audition. I was like, I can't. And he wasn't even there, but just the idea of doing that in an audition was terrifying. So, yeah, it's scary. But I think this is a testament to him. He has a wonderful ability to make you feel incredibly comfortable around him straight away. You know, within seconds, I felt like, oh, I feel like I've known this guy for a long time, even though he is who he is, and we all know who he is. But yeah, his ability to do that made the job easier and more fun, and it was great. I've had a really good time. I think Doug Liman is incredible. I've been a huge fan of his since Go, like just huge. I've seen everything that he's done. And he is as amazing a director as I imagined, even more so. But yeah, he's very good at giving specific direction, but also trying different things. And he knows what he wants. But I think I don't know. I'm probably talking out of my head, but I think he likes to vary up the direction every now and then just to keep you fluid and keep you loose and trying different things. And he really wants things to feel real. And I think he wants you to feel like you're giving a real performance. And I think he cares about that for you as much as, you know, what he's getting on camera. Yeah, I've really, really enjoyed watching his process. Yeah, I feel spoiled now. It's gonna, you know, I feel like, oh, I just want to work with this guy all the time.
They are tireless and tenacious in their work ethic and their process, and it's really inspiring. It forces everybody around them to be on their toes, and they're also incredibly collaborative and inclusive, which is so validating and rewarding. They really want to hear from everybody. They constantly want to do read-throughs and rehearsals and talk about not only the upcoming scenes, but what we've shot before. And it's like I said, it's very inspiring. There's absolutely suspense and real danger and scope, but we're having fun being on this adventure and this ride with Barry and everybody who's lucky enough to be, you know, in his periphery or along for the ride. And the wardrobe has been, I think, really amazing and cool. Having the from 1976 to 86 gives us so much to, you know, a great spectrum and range to play with. And as Barry and Lucy go from more modest to, you know, to really amassing this wealth and this lifestyle, allows us to you know, really show that in their clothes and in their looks.
I'm playing Lucy Seal, and she is Barry Seal's wife. I think she's sort of like the heartbeat of their relationship. She is an anchor, a stronghold. She's definitely someone that he looks to. I mean, he's a wild, adventuresome man with incredible enthusiasm for life and the things that he does, and he's passionate about family and crazy in love with his wife. And she is, you know, she's the same, but she holds the, you know, family together and has that strong Southern woman, you know, rock that the man leans on. Mentality, and it's fun to be able to play with that in a lot of different ways in this film. Being directed by Doug Liman is such an unbelievably enjoyable experience. I mean, first of all, as a human, I just love him so much, and he has the biggest heart, and he's such a unique character that in himself is very fascinating to watch. So he also carries this, which I feel like him and Tom both have this, and it's great. It's a great thing to see that they have in common. I think is probably one of the reasons why they get along so well, is they both have a childlike enthusiasm when it comes to filmmaking and telling stories that they're passionate about and things that they, you know, want to do. What's interesting about the two of them is they don't have any ego. Like, what they want is the best thing for the movie and the best idea for a scene or the best, shot. And if somebody else can do it better or has a better idea, that wins. Like, that's what they want, and they want everyone to do as good as possible and look as good as possible. And if that means like changing lines around, or if somebody has an improv like that works, then they get excited. And watching the two of them together, they almost finish each other's sentences at times, and it's really cute. I mean, they're great friends. They're so different, but the things that that they are alike in, that's, I think, something that bonds them together. So it's really cool to watch that relationship, and I'm like, how do I be a part of this all the time? It's so fantastic to be around. And that energy of two people who are very passionate about what they're doing and show up to work every single day excited, I mean, I think it carries over to everyone in the whole movie. And it's something that, I love, to be a part of and have learned from and want to carry on throughout everything that I do too. The pants were much tighter back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s. So all the men are like, what is the deal with these pants? They're so tight. And the guy, Roger, who plays McCall, his first day on set, he looks at Tom and he's like, I split my pants. He's like, I've been here for 10 minutes, I split my pants. Somebody's sewing them up in the back room right now. And all the women in the movie are like, well, it's interesting. It's 2015, but we live in an unfortunate time when men like to wear their pants a lot baggier. So it is fun to see these guys go through this very extreme fashion moment for men, in time.
First of all, he was an incredible pilot. And I'm a pilot, Doug Liman's a pilot, and these things really interested us. Obviously, the story, the history, the time period. There are moments where you just sit there going, "What? Are you serious? Like this? It really is unbelievable." He's a very unique, really engaging anti-hero. Everyone that met Barry, they were always incredibly charmed by him and the things that he did and he was able to get away with. And I think what, was, as I said, it was very unique to this time period. Barry Shield's a great pilot. He's someone who really, family man, loved his family, wanted adventure, wanted an adventurous life. He's very much an anti-hero. I don't condone the things that he did, but you see it, and there's some, you can't help it. There's this wish fulfillment, someone who lived beyond the rules in a way that that was very unique to that time period. The thing I admire about Doug Liman, one of the many things I admire him as a filmmaker, he really does not create the same kind of film twice. He is constantly pushing the edges and exploring different tone and different kinds of movies. And with this, you see it, neither one of us made a film like this before. All the flying is it's practical. There's no CG, we're there. I did all the flying, You see me put the thing on autopilot and walk to the back of the airplane. That's exactly what happened. So we, and Doug and I even, when we flew to Colombia, we went out in the jungles and camped out so that we could get shots, of dawn shots or different shots, all those shots in the jungle. Literally, Doug Liman and I slept in a tent. We had the airplanes on the runway. And we flew out the fuel, and we just filmed from early morning till late at night. And it was the only way that we could have got these shots. There's no other way we would have been able to accomplish what we accomplished. But he just couldn't help himself. He just had to live this life. He was literally, when you talk about someone living on the edge, he didn't even realize he was on the edge. There's just moments he was just living life and not really, of course, thinking of necessarily the ramifications of what's going to happen. I don't make a movie just to make a movie. That's not what interests me. What interests me is the passion of cinema, the passion of storytelling. That's when it gets very exciting, not just a job. I love this too much, and I want to push myself, and I want people that have that same sensibility. And it is an exploration, making movies. You are sometimes, of course, we've all made films and we're very skilled, but you have to be willing to experience going into the unknown at times. And that's what this film was like on many levels. That was part of it. We want to shoot, all the flying practically. And that really is the only way we could do it, because we didn't have the budget for visual effects. We put restrictions on ourselves. This is what this film should cost, and this is the box that it needs to fit into. And part of it right from the beginning is like, I'm doing all the flying, and we'll film the flying while I'm doing it. We're going to discover the stuff that we can do. So with this film, you won't see this kind of flying, in the way that Top Gun has its own unique style that even I think that people have been trying to imitate it. It is because it was practical in the way that that was set up. For this kind of movie and this kind of character has that same unique quality for aviation, that everything you're seeing, it is me flying. You have all the other airplanes coming in. We're shooting it subjectively. You're inside that airplane, outside that airplane, seeing me move and fly, and all those moves, every frame of it is me flying. And I think that because Doug is a pilot, he knows, I know, he knows how to shoot the planes, he knows what it feels like being a pilot, so that is throughout. And this is very much who Barry Seal is and what this world is.
The way that I perceive that we're portraying Barry in this film is that he is larger than life, and that's really how he was. And you hear the stories from people in Louisiana that knew him. The guy was larger than life, and he was living the American dream, basically, where he was, he was a TWA pilot, and then he got mixed up. Who would have thought that he would have gotten mixed up in all of this CIA, drug, Colombian cartel running back and forth to the United States? And I think that that the way we're doing it, if he were around, he would probably be like, yeah, that's what I want. He's like, let's Hollywood it up a bit. Tom Cruise is probably the best guy ever to portray him, because there's no one more larger than life than Tom Cruise. And that's basically how Barry lived every day. He was larger than life, and I personally think that's how he got to where he got. I've never seen two people more prepared or more ready for battle in my entire life. And just everything from the rehearsals after they wrap, or the 7 a.m. read-throughs that they go through. It's like something I've never seen before. Yeah, the amount of work and detail that have gone into every aspect of creating the era that we're shooting in the 70s and 80s is, you could see it everywhere. You could close one eye and actually feel like you're back in the 80s or the 70s. And it's pretty cool sometimes to do it every now and then. You kind of close one eye and see, oh, wow, I feel like I've lived back then.